Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of Don't Fear the Weight with me, your TinyTitan host, all in red today. I think I'm clashing a little bit too much with my hair and my shirt, but I'm not in the same kind of colour shirt as my guest Dan today. I think that would be too much of a clash realistically. So I think we're all good. I think we're surviving all right. It's been another week has passed by and I have got another amazing guest in the hot seat today via the name of Mr. Daniel Hipkiss. Dan, good morning or good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad at all, thank you. Guys, if you don't know who Dan is, I'm going to hand it over so he can actually explain who he is. But myself and Dan have been chatting on and off for a little bit of a while now. We followed each other actually for a really long time. We have known each other for a very long time in terms of like Titanium Strength Gym and talking through the socials a little bit, but it's only really been recently that we've kind of like hooked up and spoken a little bit more in depth, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been ages. Sort of forgot that I knew you from TSG probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When I first started going there and Andy was training there. So
That's
but yeah, the last month or so, sort of talking a bit more
something like that.
Structured about training and diet and stuff like that. And
And one of the reasons is because we obviously share a couple of clients. So
yeah.
You're a strongman coach. In fact, let's just tell everybody who you actually are, because I do think that unfortunately, due to your aversion to social media and how to promote yourself, people don't actually know who you are. So why don't you actually tell people who you are first of all?
Yeah, it's something I sort of pride myself on, but probably shouldn't. That I just try and fly under the radar and work under the assumption that if people need to know who I am, they'll find out who I am. But it's 2020 and that's not how the world works anymore. So,
unfortunately,
at the moment I'm coaching Tom Stoltman, sort of on his journey to becoming the next world's strongest man, whenever that's allowed to happen.
Yeah.
But, not just working with Tom, I've just started working with a professional badminton player who just wants to get really strong, really powerful, increases, some of his explosive work and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
My other half, Shiv, is a really good strong woman, under 63. So, sort of coaching strong women, some power lifters, some masters power lifters, some guys who are, pushing national records in powerlifting and a few world record clients, and just sort of coach people who want to be stronger than they thought they could be and sort of stronger than they plan to be. A lot of people say like, oh, I'd love like a 5 kilo PB over like a 12-month phase, and fairly quickly go like, well, doing that weight for, reps and sets now, so should probably move a bit further on. And just removing that limit from people, really.
It's quite nice how you say that. You help people be stronger than they actually thought they ever could be, and it's a lot of mental work that you need to be doing along these lines. So guys, as you all know, I am a big fan of the hippie woo woo shit. I do a lot of hippie woo woo shit with my nutritional clients and my coaching clients as well, because obviously you know that I'm a strength and conditioning coach at the same time. But Dan does exactly the same thing. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about on this podcast today was actually being strong, how you are training, how you are approaching your training, and where we think people are actually going wrong. So I'm going to hand the reins over to Dan realistically to get this kind of conversation on the go. So because one of the questions that I asked him before we even started was, is there anything specifically that you want to talk about? And he was like, well, actually, yeah. The fact that people don't train right. And that's realistically what we want to go on. So first of all, then, let's talk about strongman in general, and just improving an overall strongman's strength. Because unless you are Tom Stoltman, who just has this freakishly absurd amount of natural baseline brute strength, no one really starts off that strong. So when somebody comes to you, what do you have to analyze to see where the biggest gaps in their strength lies?
So I sort of take the piss a bit and say, you know, I can't coach being 6'10" and 180 kilos with abs. Like, it doesn't matter who you're coaching. Like, Tom is, in the nicest possible way, an absolute freak.
Yeah.
But he was really limited when we started working together. You know, when we started, he'd just come 5th at World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
Pulled a 400 kilo deadlift, and one of the first things I did was tell him everything he was doing wrong.
Right. Okay.
Which was a bit of a weird approach, and people think it's a bit mad that, you know, he's come 5th at Worlds, but 5th isn't winning. And that goes with every athlete, really. You know, whatever you are achieving at the moment, no matter how good it is and where you're at, you've never finished, especially in strength. You know, a pound's always a pound. It doesn't matter where you are. You can always put more on the bar.
Sure.
You can always lift more. You could lose more weight. You could, you know, do reps. You can improve in so many ways that people tend to be sort of very focused and very scared about, you know, expanding what they're working within. So one of the things I ask my new clients is, what keeps them up at night? You know, what is stopping you sleeping? What's making you worry? What's, you know, eating you up inside? Like, because you can't perform at that level if you've got doubts. You know, if you're worried about stuff at home, like if you're stressed about what color you've got to paint the kitchen, like that will be in your head when you're going to train, and you won't perform as well as you can.
Yeah.
So, you know, we sort of look at the whole system and what's going on and making people feel good. And with the pound for pound qualifiers at the moment, you know, it's becoming really pertinent. You know, we're working together with one or two people, I think, who are doing it. And, you know, saying to them, like, approach the bar like, you know, you want to lift X number of kilos, say 180 kilo deadlift. Approach the bar like you're a 180 kilo deadlifter, like live that life. And then when you stand it up, expect it. You know, it's going to be hard. It's heavy. You know, it might be, in some of my clients' cases, you know, we're hitting PBs that are 110, 120% of max weights.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard. But if you go into that knowing that you have that belief that you are this person who can lift it, you're giving yourself the best opportunity to, you know, activate being a robot and trusting the numbers just to stand it up.
Sure.
You know, you see people, I can almost tell it, especially at comps, you know, seeing how people are reacting and handling themselves. I've got a fairly good track record of knowing who's going to do what and what's going to go to plan. And, you know, with coaching Olympic weightlifters and powerlifters, you know, where you change your attempt and it changes the order of the lifts.
Yeah.
You know, I've got someone a national title by putting half a kilo on one of their attempts, but it meant their opponent had to lift earlier.
Yeah.
But I could see that this person, you know, was not ready to lift. They didn't know, they weren't sure in themselves. So, well, no, I've got to lift one earlier. They failed the lift, and you know, my person went out with a really comfortable lift and won a national title and qualified for international stuff. And
brilliant.
But the person I was coaching knew they could lift it. They just went out like, it's just another lift.
Yeah.
You know, a max deadlift is just another deadlift session. And you just have to become that person who's capable of doing what you want to do, you know?
Definitely. I use the exact same approach, and a lot of people have this fear and anxiety about getting under a bar, especially on a powerlifting meet. And it's like I say to them when I handle my clients, you know, you just have to forget the fact that this is a meet. You just have to forget it, because it is just another day in the gym. You do this all the time. You load a bar, you approach it, have fun. I always remember the one time where I decided not to be myself, and I decided to be a really serious power lifter in the gym, because I was, I was going to the Commonwealth, and it was like, well, now I've got to take this seriously. And I'm usually the person who dances around in the gym and has a laugh and as a mom. And I went in my singlet, and I was just like, I'm in the zone. I'm in the zone. Do you know what? I had a shit session. My bench wouldn't move, and nothing was right. My mood was off. Everything was terrible. And it's like I was saying, it was actually my husband, because he said, all you're doing is putting too much pressure on yourself. And what you have to remember is that this is not you. You are not this person. You dance around and take the piss, and that's what you are. And it's exactly the same mentality that I really do preach to a lot of people. Like you were saying, it is just another lift. You do this all the time. It doesn't matter what's on the bar. You just have to approach it the same way that you do every lift, because it's only one rep, and you know that you can lift that for one rep.
Yeah, and a thing I've had people do is, pick a deadlift up and let go of it halfway up when you're training, and it hits the floor, and the world's not ended. You've not burst into flames. Like, it's a lump of metal that's only job is to be picked up and dropped or put down.
Yeah.
If everything goes wrong, put the weight back down. Like, that's it. You've gone back to zero. You've remained at the same state you were before the lift. Like, it's a little bit different, like, obviously at Worlds and stuff like that, where you're dealing with, now you have to make this lift. But for 90% of people, gain a kilo on your bench, squat a couple of kilos heavier, take the pressure off your deadlift. Like, you can just remove pressure and sort of lift happy. It's thing called reflexive performance reset, which RPR I've had you doing.
Yeah.
And one of the tests for that is, if you hold your arm out straight and get into that really like rage psych zone, like I'm going to ruin everything, people can just push your arm down really easily.
Yeah.
But if you think about the happiest you've ever been and like pure, like unadulterated joy, you're immediately stronger.
Yeah.
Because signals in your body aren't being blocked by you freaking out about something. And just, trust in the process, get a good process, get a good system, become happy with it. Just another thing to do.
Nice. I like that. So if somebody then, you've asked them the question, what keeps you up at night? And they say, I don't know, the fact that I'm worried that I'm not stronger.
Well, you can get stronger.
Yeah.
Like, it's an easy answer, but strength is infinitely trainable.
Yeah.
You can always be stronger. You've never stopped getting stronger. So just, you might have to change what you're doing. You might have to, start working with a nutritionist. You might have to do other things, but you can get stronger.
Yeah. Like,
you can always get stronger. And I've not trained anyone who couldn't get stronger.
Very good. That's a very bold claim as well.
Yeah, but, everyone I coach gets stronger. Like, it's really simple. And I think anyone who trains, if they know what they're doing, will get stronger. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll probably get stronger.
Yeah.
Like, lift stuff up. Like, it's, on a base level, not very complicated.
No.
Like, strongman's a sport of lifting stuff up and putting it down again. Sometimes you put it down over there. Other than that, like, that's it. That's the whole sport. Lift that up, put it down somewhere.
It's absolutely amazing how you can describe that, because a strongman is one of my favorite things to coach and program in terms of a nutritional element, because we use all three different energy systems for strongman. But the fact that you literally just said, it's picking up awkward looking objects and running with them and putting them down somewhere else, or running with them, turning around and then running back with it. I mean, realistically, the sport that we are in, whether it be strength sports like strongman or strength sports like powerlifting, it's quite absurd what we have to do, because it's literally picking things up and putting them back down again and repeating. And really destroying your central nervous system sometimes by thinking, shit, I'm knackered now. And
it's really good fun, though. It's really good fun.
It is good fun.
But totally pointless.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you're obviously going for a world title, and then that's not pointless. You know, it's something.
Even then, though, you're just the best in the world at doing something pointless.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Like, you just want to be like, you know, that's why I don't understand why people can hate doing the sport, because of all the pressure they put on themselves. Because when you look at it, I mean, sometimes you pick something up and put it down where you picked it up from.
Yeah.
Like, or like front hold, you pick something up and don't put it down for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, I don't, like, just enjoy it, you know? Like, the best strongmen are backstage at World's Strongest Man is the most fun. It's so much more fun than novice comps because no one has pressure on themselves. The strongest guy will win.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, people, I remember at Worlds, like, someone came off an event and were like, oh, mate, you need these straps. Like, they're the wrong straps for this. So they're competing against each other. But one person's given 100% effort. The next person's going to give 100% effort. Whoever wins, wins.
That's
Like,
it. It's amazing.
that's it. Whereas, you know, I've started coaching, you know, at a novice level, which is where the sport grows from. Have said, like, oh, I've like missed my kid's birthday for a training session, and you're like, why? That's like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like, go and eat cake and have fun, and then
Yeah.
you know, if you have to miss a session, and or do a double the next time, or train early, like, you know, training Tom, like, in the process, another world record coming, maybe another couple of world records, depending what happens, World's Strongest Man coming up. He messaged me yesterday. He's like, oh, it's really nice weather. I might go to a beer garden. Can we move my session? I was like, yeah, it's like 30 degrees in Scotland. Like, this doesn't happen often. Go and have fun. We'll just move a rest day round and you can enjoy life and, you know, be arguably one of the best in the world at the sport, and soon to be, you know, if the next 5 World's Strongest Man goes to plan, undisputable to be the strongest man who's lived. Like, we'll just turn him into an absolute freak.
Yeah. Well, he is already one. I mean, I was actually at the Giants Live when I saw him break the Stones record. And it was just incredible to see the way that he moved, and the fact that he was completely unfazed by everything as well. And I think that's what I love so much about these strongman athletes. They are unfazed by it all. It was just like, you know, Tom, you've just got a world record. Oh, right. And that was it. It was like, yeah, well, I kind of knew it was going to happen.
You know, exactly. Going into that event, you know, we stood backstage. I've told you, if you want a chance of winning Brits or the Giants Live comps, because it's similar at Brits, he had to break his own world record there as well. You know, just tell him, like, you have to do this, but you are the man who can do it. Like, he went out knowing he was the best stone lifter in the world.
Yeah.
And all he had to do was what he's the best at.
Yeah.
And, you know, someone like Tom, he thrives when he's comfortable, you know, so keep him comfortable. Other people, you know, you threaten and all this at comps and get them really fired up. But, you know, as a coach, you know yourself, you know, you need to know your athlete, you need to know who you're working with. And, you know, some people, I've coached people who want to nap between events, they'll just go off and nap. And
amazing.
So, yeah, you need to know who you're coaching. And I think a lot of, this is why we've spoke about, like, I don't do a generic program for people. It's probably not the best business model, but people aren't generic, like, on the whole. So I don't see how you can sell a generic program.
Correct.
You know, with people within a bell curve, they'll get some benefit, but it's not going to be, you know, the outliers are going to really suffer. And yeah, it just doesn't feel right to...
No, it isn't. And you never get to know your athlete if you do use a cookie cutter program as well. I mean, we've discussed this on a number of occasions, and I've done posts on it beforehand as well. Like, one of the worst programs that I've ever seen before was just like, you know, squat, box squat, legs hypertrophy.
Yeah.
Bench, pause bench, chest hypertrophy. I mean, what does that even mean? What's the benefit of legs hypertrophy after a heavy squat session? And, you know, how is that going to use as a carryover for powerlifters, you know, and that kind of thing? And what happens if that person knows nothing about legs hypertrophy? What rep ranges, what specific exercises are specific to them, and that kind of thing. So this kind of dives and brings us right the way around to the beginning of the conversation, really, because we've gone off on lots of different tangents here, about why people aren't training properly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about that. In your point of view, why do you think that people aren't training properly? Do you think it is just an attitude?
I think it's coaches are fundamentally at fault. Or not coaches, people who want to coach but don't really want to coach.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So, because there are a lot of really good coaches around who get amazing results from their athletes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who do not do that and don't really care. And it might be because they've got, you know, a big name attached to themselves or a title or whatever, that people go, well, they're a good athlete, so they must be a good coach. But they just don't care, really. And it's understandable, because to be that level of athlete, you have to be a bit selfish. You have to be self-centered. Your training has to be the priority.
Yeah.
So how can you expect to coach people and get the same results as someone who is there because their passion is making people better?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people then become really narrow-minded. I'm a strongman, so I have to do, you know, the big 3 lifts, but I don't need to bench because, you know, strongmen don't bench and all this. But, you know, look outside of your sport. Look at people who master stuff. Like, mastery is an absolutely amazing thing. And if someone's mastered something, it doesn't matter what it is, their approach to becoming a master of whatever art they've mastered can be applied to strongman. It can be applied to powerlifting. And it's that pure focus on improvement of every aspect of it. You know, I'm spending a lot of time with climbers, and like the top elite level climbers are like obsessive about how they cut their fingernails because, you know, you want that to back your finger up. It gives you a bit of extra grip, but they'll spend like 20 minutes cutting their finger, like make it absolutely perfect.
Right.
But they've mastered that, and they've mastered everything like that will allow them to be as good as they can as a complete thing.
Yeah.
So, like, well, you've seen from the sort of programming I put out, like a lot of jumping, a lot of unilateral work, a lot of isometric work, a lot of stuff for tendons, loads of core stuff, loads of grip, forearm work. Like, it's not just, oh, you've got to lift the log up. So the whole thing. And I think people just become really focused on, you know, I'm a strong man, I can only do this. You know, look big, look at the whole world, you know, like parkour athletes, if they're not really explosive at the right time, they'll probably die or get really badly hurt.
Sure.
So look at what they're doing to be that explosive. You know, grip sport, which if you have to put sport after it, it isn't a real sport. Yeah. But anyway, you know, they've specialized gripping, how to hold something. And if you could get an extra 5 seconds in a farmer's hold, just by slightly changing how you train grip, realizing that grip isn't just the hand, you know, there's no muscle in the finger, but the pulleys run all the way through the forearm, run through the hour, it comes to your shoulder. Like the best grip athletes will squeeze from the shoulder. They get their back into grip events. So why aren't people doing that for strongman, you know? Like, people just go, I'll just grab hold of the handles and try and squeeze my hands really hard. But they're missing out on so much of the chain that could get them really strong. And like work as a whole unit. Like bodies are amazing. Like the whole system, when it works together, is like second to none. Like it just works.
Yeah.
But people just go, I don't want to bother with that bit. And go, well, then how are you going to get the results you want? How can you perform at that level?
I think when you say things like that, like doing finger curls, for example, to help with your grip, and somebody would look at that in terms of programming and just think, well, I'm not going to do that. I might as well just, do some heavy dumbbell carries because that's going to do the same thing. Or do the squeezy thing that, that there's a machine on and that kind of thing, and work your grip, or even hold on to a plate with your pincer grips and stuff like that. But it's these little things that people don't understand about having longevity in the sport. They just want to lift the heavy things, lift it more, go and put it back down, and then come back and fight another day and do exactly the same thing. Whereas the people who are doing the isometrics, they are doing the minor details, they are looking after their tendon health, their gut health, their bone health, absolutely everything. You'll see them climb the ladder a little bit more, but it is the little incidentals that actually build up to be a much bigger piece of the jigsaw.
Yeah, like if each one's 1% improvement, and you improve 100 things, you've got 100% better. Exactly. I know it doesn't quite work like that, but why wouldn't you want to be, a bit better at something? And they just all add up. And another thing that came to light today is strongman coaches and people like that who, someone I've just started working with, their mate works with a strongman coach, and they're like, oh, well, they give them nutrition advice and tell them what cycle to take. And it's like, but you could kill someone. Like, you could literally make someone be dead because you don't know what you're on about.
Yeah.
But you just want to charge a bit more money. And if people aren't getting the results you want, just up the dose. And it's, I'm a big believer in specialization.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm not going to buy a Ferrari and take it off-roading and then go, well, this car's crap. It's not done what I wanted it to do. But specialized, I recommend nutritionists, recommend people to talk to, go and get bloods done, talk to these people, do all of this. People are like, oh, well, I thought you were a coach. Why don't you do that? It's like, well, because you don't do everything. You don't want, it's the difference between Poundland and a fancy butcher's.
Yeah.
You could probably buy sausages in Poundland, but you'd be really sick and they've got sawdust in them.
Brilliant.
But they do everything. And that's the sort of thing, you want to avoid, is going, looking for that one all-encompassing thing, because it's the same as cookie cutter programming. It doesn't work for everyone.
No, not at all.
But, just up the dose and that's it. People get really strong and maybe die, or they turn yellow. But
yeah, the yellow thing's always quite good. I heard that the Simpsons were very good at strongman, so.
Yeah. So it's, it just seems really daft to me that people want the results that you'd get from really bespoke programming without having any bespoke programming.
Yeah, exactly that. I'm a big fan of a multidisciplinary approach. So when people come to me and they say, I just want nutritional coaching because I have a powerlifting coach or I have a strongman coach at the moment, is that something that you do? And I'm like, well, to be fair, that is my bag. Work alongside the coaches, because it's all very well and good a female saying to me, I feel great, so but I'm not losing any weight, so I need to drop my calories. But then I speak to their coach and get the feedback from them, and he says, well, actually she has lost weight, she's possibly not being completely 110% honest with you, but her leverages have changed, so now her SI joint's starting to kick off because of the amount of weight that she's dropped very quickly. Or she's starting to be sluggish, but because she's sluggish and because she still needs to make weight, she doesn't want to tell me that, because she's quite happily going along with eating less food and doing more cardio, etc. So this is the reason why we have a multidisciplinary approach. The same thing goes for upping the dosages. I have, as part of my team, and yourself, we've got a whole bag of people who's in terms of it. We've got physios, we've got chiropractors, we've got people who will personally design drug cycles for assisted athletes, and strongman coaches. However many that the other people are going to be a part of that team, because I can't do everything, just like you can't do everything. So it is much more beneficial to have a master at one item of your trade rather than being a dickhead in everything. And I'm going to call them a dickhead rather than a jack of all trades, because 9 times out of 10 they are dickheads.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, at best it's irresponsible.
Completely.
Like, at worst case, you're being actively dangerous. And, you know, it just shows you don't really care about the people who are giving you, in some cases, a lot of money. And that's the thing that I can't get my head around, is how you can go, oh yeah, I'm, you know, the same price as this person, but, you know, we'll talk once a week. So, but that doesn't help someone. Like,
no, exactly.
I've had, well, it's just, I don't know how announced it's been, so I'll be careful how I phrase stuff. But there's some comps that have just been dropped on athletes.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've got a comp in 2 weeks because we've got to do this to satisfy filming stuff and all TV contracts and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've got, I think, 6 guys who have been told, you've got 2 weeks to get ready for a comp. And then 4 weeks after that, you've got another comp. And then you've got a 5-day comp.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how is everyone who's messaged me, you know, we've replied, you know, within sort of 12 hours if I've been out, but, you know, reply to them, change the program, get it going, ready for a comp, test maxes, do all of that stuff that we need to do. But if you're just selling a program, like, what do you do? What do you do then? If you've just gone, well, yeah, I know everything that you've built up to has changed, but, you know, you've only paid me for 12 weeks, so good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you just up the dose and hope they don't die, I think.
Yeah. Just up the trend. Just up the trend.
Yeah, if in doubt, just to sprinkle more, just a little bit.
On the cornflakes. Cornflakes are anabolic, and then you put your tren on for the androgen effect.
That's it. Sorted.
Exactly. Right, so as we've been blabbering on for a good 50 minutes, let's get to some of the questions. So you had a couple, didn't you? So why don't you do one of your questions first as I get mine up?
So one person has asked, how do they generate stretch reflex on squats? They struggle with sort of descent to ascent phase of the lift.
Oh, okay.
And the slightly annoying answer is, if you don't know how to do that and your body doesn't naturally do it, don't do it. Like, you don't need a stretch reflex. Some people, you know, squat with a wider stance, you know, just hit parallel, super strong in the quads and can just reverse the movement.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're super mobile, you know, mobile ankles and hips, really solid upper back, you can just bounce out the bottom of a squat. But I think this goes back to, you know, where coaching and actually being hands-on with athletes is really key. That, you know, you're not going to squat the same as Ray Williams, who doesn't squat the same as, like, Lu Xiaoyong, like some Chinese weightlifters. Like, people lift differently, and you have to lift as well as you can for you.
Yeah.
You know, perfect practice for you is what makes perfect. There isn't one form for everyone.
Definitely.
But generally, if you can't hit depth, ankle mobility, hip mobility, glutes might be tight, core might be tight, hip flexors could be weak. Like, the best advice for anyone who's struggling with form stuff and mechanics is to get a coach. You know, that could be one of us. It could be any good coach. And also pick specialists, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
Talk to Olympic weightlifters. If you want to squat really upright and really deep, find a weightlifting coach. You know, if you want to squat legally, find a powerlifter who, you know, squats wide, is like atoms into parallel, like perfect, like rule book level squats. Talk to them, learn from them.
Yeah.
Like, there are ways, people are really good at stuff, and people who specialize, like we said, look at every detail. So talk to them and learn how to get the benefits you want, really.
Do it properly, exactly. I have noticed as well, some of the other things when I have people who say to me they can't hit depth, a lot of it is fear factor.
Yeah.
They're just afraid of not getting back up. So I actually ask them the question and say, okay, well, if you didn't get back up, what's the worst that could happen?
Yep.
Got safety catches for a reason.
Yeah, or bail a bar forward, which is something really freaks people out.
Yeah.
But bar goes forward, you go back.
Yeah.
There's no danger. If you try and roll it down your spine and bounce it off your coccyx and then land on your hamstrings and calves, like, bad day.
Yeah,
but
totally
hit the bottom, dump it forward, and it's done. You make a bit of noise, people look at you in the gym, put the bar back up and crack on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
The key thing, like the easiest test is, can they bodyweight squat to depth?
Yeah.
Like if you can't bodyweight squat to depth, there's a few people who need a bit of load on them, especially with equipped lifters. You know, you're not hitting depth without enough weight to actually get the suit to hit depth. But if you can't hit a bodyweight squat to depth, why are you expecting to lift heavy weights to depth? You know, like, assess the basics.
Yeah, definitely. Start at the basics, build your foundation on from there. Really nice. Right, a very interesting question that I had come through for you then, Dan. Rest days. How important are rest days? When should they be scheduled? And why can't I have no days off, bro?
So, if you're training properly and your nutrition's on point, in theory, you could just keep training.
Yeah.
However, if you're wanting to lift really heavy, you will, especially for people in weight classes, you can't just eat like 10,000 calories a day and, you know, just force the recovery. Natural athletes as well, or tested athletes, depending on which side of the fence of everyone's a cheater you fall on.
Yeah.
You know, there's a limit to recovery at some point. So I used to do and have done with a couple of people, we did 11 sessions a week, so a few doubles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, strongmen, you can eat loads. Like, it doesn't really matter. But then I program deload weeks. Sort of every 4 to 5 weeks, you'll have a week off at like 60%.
Okay.
So if you're really pushing at that level, then we'll have all your rest days in 1 week, basically.
Right.
Like, I know it's sort of oversimplified, but, you know, CNS fatigue is cumulative a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Unless you do some like 600 kilo yoke, you're going to feel pretty rubbish afterwards.
Yeah.
But generally, you know, you can keep building up, have a deload week, go back, train loads, deload week, go back, or just have a couple of days off a week, or 1 day off a week. Like, if you're really that focused on what you want to do, just have a day off. Like, it's not going to hurt. It's going to give you a chance to recover. It's going to let you enjoy the process more as well. And yeah, I tend to try and rest. I think most people, I try and get a Wednesday and a Sunday rest. Yeah, it lets you hit a heavy lower body, heavy upper body, have a day off. And then if you need to hit heavy again, you can hit them, you know, Thursday, Friday. You can have an events day. It allows you to switch stuff up. Also means that, you know, a lot of people have got families, they've got lives, they've got stuff they want to do. Spending a Sunday with the family is a pretty good thing to do.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, you know, I know from like you on Instagram and stuff, Sunday's family day. Like,
absolutely. Family day and people day. I wash my hair, I put makeup on, I don't wear sports clothes.
Exactly. But do you feel like you feel better from it? And on Monday, you want to go and train?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there has to be a balance. So when people are saying, you know, hashtag no days off, bro, I really do think, yeah, you can train every day. I mean, as long as you are programmed efficiently and properly, but you cannot go hard heavy with massively loads and loads and loads of reps every single day. You just can't do it because you won't be able to recover from it.
Yeah.
So again, you've got to be programmed properly for people who want to train every single day. But
Yeah.
in terms of having a day off, I just think that if you do have a family, you do have children, you do have other commitments, you've got a job, you know, and that kind of thing. If you don't want to take a day off, I think that that's quite a very sad thing.
Yeah. Like, it's days off for ace. Like, enjoy a day off. I'll just shut that. Like,
Fine.
enjoy a day off. Like, have fun. Like, do what you want to do. I sort of sneakily and annoyingly get people to have days off who didn't want it.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, I'm going to train 7 days a week. I really want to smash the middle of nowhere's strongest novice under 81 kilograms for the Northeast wearing blue tops, like all the asterisks is. Just, you know, plan a GPP day.
Yeah.
Tell them, don't go into the gym, do something. If you want to train, do something. Go and play football, go for a hike, like go for a run. Get out of the gym. Like, you can train a lot, but you know, you want to be happy and enjoy stuff. And going into the gym 7 days a week, like I've worked in a gym, like going into the gym 7 days a week is toss.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I love being in the gym, but don't want to be there every day.
Nah. Have a little bit of a break from it as well.
Yeah. And you'll lift better. Like,
Yeah.
it's really basic. Like, you will perform better if you have rest days.
Cool beans. Have you got another question?
Yeah, let's have a look at... So, one of the most frustrating questions I've got is low volume, high weight, or high volume, low weight. What's better? And it really annoys me that people think it's that black and white.
I know, yeah.
Because why not do high weight, loads of volume? Like,
yeah.
Like, do low weight for singles. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, good programming is about novel stimulus. And, you know, if you're just going in like, right, all I do is hit heavy triples or heavy singles, it's just not going to work. You're not going to make as much progress as possible. I generally use a mix of undulating and linear periodization.
Yeah.
So some things are constantly going up and down, but it sort of tapers down, so it becomes like really high frequency and really high intensity.
Yeah.
But it's all generally follows like a linear progression. But why not do a heavy 5 on tricep pushdowns and stuff like that? Like, you can just lift heavy sometimes. You can go to like, go into like pure failure, like absolute failure. It doesn't matter what the weight is. Like, don't do it regularly because it's really bad. Like, it's a bad day.
Yeah.
I remember training with Paul Smith at TSG when I was coaching him. And once or twice a year, we'd do like the bad time day.
Yeah.
And he tried to run away from his teeth once because the lactic acid buildup was so much that anywhere that blood moved through his body hurt.
Yeah.
So, you know, upstairs at TSG where the rowers were,
Yeah.
he was trying to crawl to the stairs. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I've just got to get away from it. My teeth are burning. I was like, yeah, but your teeth are where you are. Like, that's how they work. Like, but all he was on a rower on medium intensity, but just went to failure. Like, Ed Cohn used to do like max triples on tricep pushdown.
Yeah.
Because I need them to be really strong, but also do like sets of 25.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or do drop sets, or do that. Like, there's so much variety to training that just lift weights. Like, it's just not fixed. Like, in no way is it a one-track thing. There's no black and white answer to it. Lift weights in different ways.
Yeah, different ways, different rep ranges, and just get out of this kind of blinkered idea of that there is only one set way to get strong, because there really is, there's thousands.
Yeah, look at Westside. Like as many flaws as there are in Westside programming, which is loads of them.
Yeah.
But it's novel stimuli all the time.
For sure.
You know, you could be doing 6 doubles for speed. You could be doing doubles into bands. You could be doing doubles into. It's a lot of doubles, but it's speed work, block work, band work. Like it's a big variety of stuff. You know, there's max effort, there's dynamic effort. Like there's this whole range of training. And people go, "Oh, I'm either lifting heavy or light." It's like, no, like there's so much. Like it's such a broad spectrum that, you know, open your eyes up a bit. Like look at what other people are doing and what you can benefit from it.
Definitely. I love it. So one of the other questions that I had was, what was your opinion on Westside? So we've answered that one.
Well, to give them their due, Westside is really effective.
For
like,
sure.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so close to being perfect that it annoys me more than it should.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like, oh, Westside's awful, don't do it. But it's like, Westside for skinny bastards is like the best version of Westside I've seen.
Yeah.
Because it allows that variety without being too Westside-y. So Westside is ace, but it's just so close to being really, really good that it just annoys me so much that I sort of discredit it more than it deserves.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Westside's Westside.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so final question, I think, because we're getting up to, bloody hell, we've been talking for an hour. People are bet they're bored of
Oh,
it.
God.
I know, it's cracked on, hasn't it? So last question then. Okay, I am a novice strongman. I train 5 days a week and I am never sore. Am I doing something wrong? I'm assuming they're talking about DOMs and the fact that they're not getting any kind of muscle soreness whatsoever.
Well, I mean, if they're getting stronger, they're doing everything perfectly.
Yep.
Like not being sore is really just awful. Like waking up sore is not fun.
No.
So if you're making progress, getting really strong, you know, achieving what you've set out to achieve and you're not getting sore, carry on. Like you could push a bit more. You could try and find that knife edge where it's like, you know, am I being a bit too conservative? But if you're making progress, just keep making progress.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially in strongman, it's not like if you want to do, I mean, I suppose like if you compare it to bodybuilding and powerlifting, there are some differences there, because strongman, you can lift shit real ugly, but as long as you make the lift, you know? Whereas like with powerlifting, you have got to have a specific form on bench. You know, you have to have your head on the bench. You have to have your heels on the floor. I mean, we're talking about certain federations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they will have...
let's not go down that route.
No,
all the federation.
I know, not today. Different conversation. But even with bodybuilding, you know, bodybuilders say you can't do half squats because half squats won't hit your hamstrings and your glutes. So, I mean, if people come to me and they say that they've been doing their squats, but they're not sore, and I see a video and they're just doing bobs, then okay, we need to kind of reiterate that. But if you're training 5 days a week, doing strongman training, getting stronger and not being sore, to me, that sounds, and you're performing things correctly, to me, in my opinion, that sounds like you've got a decent program at a decent RPE level and your recovery is on point.
Yep, exactly.
So I wouldn't be worried about it, in my opinion.
No, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
People like to complicate stuff.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be complicated.
No, because you're lifting stuff up, putting it down again.
Yeah, sometimes in a different place, sometimes in the same.
Yeah. Strongman.
Brilliant. What a way to end a podcast. Right, so we are just about up on time. Dan, do you want to leave the viewers with, or listeners, with any kind of additional words of wisdom to go away with?
I suppose one thing that I'd like people to take away from it is be open to stuff outside of your sport. Look at people who master stuff. Read as much stuff as possible about as many people who are really good at what they do. And, you know, see what they're doing, because a lot of them do a lot of things in common, and start living like that, and you'll be pretty successful, either as an athlete, person, whatever.
Wicked. All right, that's wonderful. So guys, if you do have any more questions for myself or for Dan, then please obviously comment on the YouTube video or send us an Instagram. I will put all of the contact details in the description box as per. And as per usual, thank you very much for tuning in. If you do like all of the podcasts, then obviously tell me, because otherwise I'll just stop doing them. Simple as that, which is going to make me have a big sad. So anyway, Dan, lovely to speak to you. Thank you very much for giving up your time and coming on today. And I will catch all of you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye, bye-bye.